Hello, everybody, back here at the station of the One Whole Earth spaceship. We're going to be talking about my friend, and this is kind of look at that. The first scene there, Steve Lowe. So this little apartment here is just like the spaceship. It is a portal to another place. You see the way that John Lautner is working with light, and it's just a fantastic experience. A lot of people come in who are architectural professors around the country and will stay in this hotel for a couple of days just to feel what the light does in the room and how to really study that. He really was right at it. Steve Lowe had another hotel. He had the Desert Hot Springs Hotel. This is fashioned after the Tangiers Hotel, in which William Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg and a bunch of the other beat poets came together and kind of redefined what poetry and literature is for the next century. And this is the kind of hotel they would stay at. And Steve made this place just like a museum, and each room had an old typewriter in it. It had some kind of chapter. It had a passage from one of the books or a poem they were working on or something, supposedly, as they were stepping out. Very nice. And those pools, they look like ice cold pools. They are hot springs pools. Each one of them, the coolest one was about 80 degrees. Now, this is the Lautner Motel in Desert Hot Springs. And Steve kept it up as pristine as he possibly could. And there's a picture of it in a book as it was built. Each one had a pool, had a different kind of seat. That's what they like to do. They go different temperature pools. So these were like secret motels where you take your best secret girl and you slip into one of these folks, and you probably wouldn't come out for maybe a couple days. You just have stuff delivered to the door, you know what I mean? So this is all, Desert Hot Springs in general is a very interesting place. It's all about the no-tell, motel, everything's okay down there. It's all hot springs, so people are very, clothing is optional most places. It's more about like the healing spa, taking the vapors and so to speak. But I want to talk about the guy who introduced me to Steve Lowe, and that was my friend Leland Y. Lee. And I'm going to look away from that screen because I like looking at those pictures too. But Leland was a photographer. He worked for Julius Shulman, and Julius Shulman was a mid-century modern photographer for the Los Angeles magazine that would come out on a Sunday after Sunday with the paper. It was an insert, but with a colored insert, and it was kind of what was happening in LA. And it was very exclusive and kind of prestigious. It always has been since the beginning. And Leland had become so he came across with his mother as an orphan to one of the kingdoms or the emperor or something in the early 1900s. Had a chance to go to school like one day. He was brought into a class with a bunch of little Chinese kids to see what they would do with some clay. He created an object that looked like something. He said like an elephant or a mouse or something. He didn't know what it was really, but he made something that looked like something. Just at the right time, they snapped a picture of him holding his little mouse in his hand. It's called a mouse. And then next thing you know, the snapshot says in the newspaper, it's in the newspaper, it's in the LA Times, it says, even a Wong can get it right. And Leland's picture was above that caption. Can you believe that? A super racist, completely, insensitive kind of joke about a little kid making a cool little sculpture. And you think, okay, that could be really hurtful. I would think, man, but he didn't really know about it. He was a little guy, but he was just at the age of going to school. And from that picture, he was picked out by one of the secretaries, one of the people who would serve on in the cabinet of the Nixon administration, of all things. So he saw Leland's picture and went and found out who he was and invited him to come to a boarding school, prep school kind of situation. Can you imagine this? A little infant, like an orphan coming from China, and next thing you know, he's going to a sleepover boarding school up there in above San Dimas. Now, when I met Leland, I had put a small ad in the local paper, and I had someone who picked up my story, and he was a young newspaper man, and he wrote a sloppy little story about this guy, who was a maverick thinker, and I was that guy, and he used me as the inspiration of that. And I liked him a lot. We used to follow around, but I used to put ads. So in order to get his attention, I, of course, had to buy some advertising for my book and my whatever. So I just threw a little, the least amount of advertising, a little column in the local Pasadena rag. And sure enough, Leland picked it up. Leland picked it up and called me out of nowhere. Yeah, Leland Lee here. I like your stuff. I want to see what's going on. And he was an alumni from Art Center College too. So this is where Art Center College comes in. It really does matter where you go to school and who you know and how you know. You got to play the game like that. I'm honestly thinking about starting a GoFundMe. Hey, if y'all like this kind of thing, to go back and get my PhD or my master's over there at Art Center College. I'll take y'all with me. We'll all go together. See how many people we can educate with my education. That would be so much fun. See, but look at these schools. These are all iconic for the time. But those were not of the day. Those are kids things. This one particularly was Hollis Jones. So Hollis Jones, another what? Art Center College of Design graduate. Hollis Jones went on a meteoric rise with this whole lucite concoction that he came up with. Fantastic. So Leland caught me on this thing, and then I snatched him up. I just got him in the car. I don't know what happened. I just got him in there, and we went around looking because I thought that he might actually have a little money stashed. To be honest with you, I thought Leland might. And he gave me the impression that he might just have a little bit of money. And I was just finishing up my project in Simi Valley. And I was looking for a next, you get hungry right after you're a hungry wolf, right after you finish your project, you want to get another project. So, he led me on a kind of a glorious wild goose chase because I knew pretty much right away that he had no money. But we had a lot of good times. Now he had Art Center, so we would go in together, and I loved having this guy. I just thought he should have more of a recognition at Art Center. He just really wanted to get recognized at Art Center College of Design, and I still do too. See, it's kind of prestigious. It's just a prestigious thing. We go around people who are badass designers with that color orange. See that color orange? That's an Art Center orange, by the way. And maybe those lines. You see the orange? And I told him that. I said that door is an Art Center color door. He's like, he didn't. But Steve Lowe had impeccable taste. He had impeccable taste. He was. Just a flair. He knew how to decorate to make it look like it was lived in and look like it was brand new at the same time. How do you do that? How do people do that? It's always been, my expertise as a builder is just to build the most efficient box I can think of. I like building boxes. I like building things that work good. I like things that have good walls just in case anything happens, and then they're using some common sense. If we can use some of the earth. Now remember, you see that where these buildings are they are literally in the ground. You see that? They're built into the side of the hill there. And there's a lot of heavy mass, and you see how he's working with the shadow in order to keep the coolness. I was so obsessed with this thing. Steve Lowe and I were good friends, but I became obsessed. He was obsessed with this particular building. I was obsessed with this building. So obsessed, in fact, that on the day he died, I was scheduled to come to the hotel. And because we were such friends, he simply left me a note and said he'd be right back. But but he never did because he ended up going to the hospital and dying in his car that night. But he left out for me one thing that I really wanted. He left out the plans of this building, the intimate plans. So literally, he had a set of the plans for this particular cottage, and I got a chance to really. I mean, if you're one of the geeks like I am, an architectural geek, and you can really look at plans on an intimate level, you just feel like you're somehow in the shadow of some greatness. So this is the kind of thing, look, we're talking about what does it take to be homeful? What is it? There's something about it. Like, what is it? So, not necessarily the size of a thing. That bed's been slept in. That's a homeful bed. Look at that. Looks like a cloud. That's a homeful cloud. I mean, what do we got to do to be homeful? It's always up to the individual. But when you have a good space to work with, something that really, inspires you, then it's easier to get inspired. Now, look, in this case, this motel from the outside was made to look bland, and this looked a lot like the house that I built in 29 Palms, and that's why we connected too, because he was working with a building that looked like my building. Had he lived a little longer, we might have explored building another hotel. I was hoping that we could get some land and do another motel, this time designed by him. We were thinking big idea before he slipped away, and he's like, that's the thing. Spirit people are such that they can come in anytime. They're always here. Now, I want to say thank you to all my friends then. Let's go ahead and cut that off. And I want to say thanks for letting me share this story with y'all.